Welcome to the Geek Cabal channel. I'm Bob,
I'm Jim.
and you're about to watch a clip from one of our longer podcast videos since they've been running about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We splice clips out. If you like the whole thing, it'll be linked to in the description. Hopefully, you'll watch it too. It's up to you, though. And since this is YouTube, you know how it goes. If you like what you like here, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But otherwise, hope you enjoy the clip. Anyway, I think that's all we've got for channel news. Uh,
Well, let's get on to the
get on the actual topics.
the meat and potatoes of the today's conversation.
All right, so there's going to be two large-ish topics and then some peripheral stuff. So the first one is Disney seems to be under attack on basically every front, and things are not looking good. So we'll start with the mild and work towards the wild here. Uh, First of all, the numbers for Ahsoka are not good. We're talking like less than 1 million people watched the finale in the first week. To the point of like, everyone's like, there's no possible way that they can make a movie to wrap this up. It will be the biggest box office embarrassment of all time. Because if less than 1 million people watch that, that's the audience you're looking at, essentially. You're not going to get tens of millions of people to randomly go to the theater.
No.
It's just not going to happen. So there might be a movie made, but it's going to be like a Disney Plus movie, which hopefully better than like Disney Home Channel movies, but we'll see. So that's not good. What's worse is that everyone is like, all right, well, Loki was really popular. That'll save us. Plus, it's, everyone's looking forward to it, which as near as I can tell they were. And I've read mostly positive things. We thought it was good. And its numbers weren't great either. So, and Disney's like trying to mess with the numbers and be like, oh, well, this many views using these metrics. And it's like, that sounds fishy. And I don't remember exactly how they did it, but it's not clear how many people actually watched it. So, you have that going on. The stock price is down. The gentleman that tried to launch like an internal coup a few months ago is back for round two because he does not like what Bob Iger has done in the last several months. Now the guy owns even more stock in the company, so he has an even greater chance of actually getting board seats, which will be the beginning of the end of the Iger dynasty. So he's making his move, and the upcoming share call doesn't sound good either. So you have that going on. Then you have, the sordid tales of the new Snow White movie. For those of you who don't know, look it up. But things aren't looking good for that one. Like the main actress seems to be doing her best to outcompete Carol Danvers. What's her name?
Oh, Brie Larson.
Brie Larson. She seems to have looked at what Brie Larson did, and then took some advice from like the people behind Ghostbusters 2016 and was like, "Give me a heavy dose of all that, and let's turn that dial to 11." And that's basically what she's been doing. So, if Brie Larson's any indication, this will not end well for her. So, you have that going on. And amid all this, apparently, do you know who Ben Shapiro is?
Oh yeah, because the Daily Wire. Yes, yeah. I know.
So the Daily Wire, which Ben Shapiro runs, we're not getting into Ben Shapiro and the politics of this. This is just a matter of who this is. There's a woman that works there, Brett Cooper. And apparently the Daily Wire is getting into the movie business and is going to make their own Snow White movie with Brett Cooper playing Snow White. Even though she looks a little bit more like the evil queen, but, whatever.
But the one thing I saw a lot of people were complaining, like, and I get it. I get people, are saying, well, the Daily Wire doesn't need to go making movies. But the one thing they were doing, they were slamming her. They're like, well, she's not even an actress. And they're like, well, no, that's what she did.
Yeah, she was an actress. Like, she has a page on the Internet Movie Database because of what she used to do.
Yes.
Like, she was a child actress. She's not that old right now. So, but, yeah, so they're making their own Snow White. So Disney has competition, direct competition in the Snow White field. Now, to be realistic, the Daily Wire Snow White, if it gets theatrically released, is probably not going to do huge numbers or anything, just because they're an unknown quantity. Then again, maybe it will, because that Jim Caviezel movie just took off. So, what was the name of that one? He's the going to get like the abducted kids. Like Mel Gibson's one of the producers and
Oh, the
everything. It was a few months ago.
yeah, I know, I know. I'm just
But anyway, it'll, it may or may not come to us. But that one took off, so who knows? And so you have all this going on, and then
yes.
the guys from South Park are making a special that's going to be on Paramount Plus called the Panderverse, where all of the characters are going to be race and gender swapped to just absolutely ridicule this with reckless abandon. And apparently, Disney has gone to the lengths of threatening legal action against this. And apparently, like, their lawyers met, and the lawyers for Paramount, from the sounds of things, basically had to like explain with graphs involving crayons to like explain the First Amendment to these people that like there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah. No.
And it ended up with Disney's lawyers being like, well, we're not going to do anything right now, but if this somehow negatively impacts us, it's like, well, it's going to, because that's what these guys do is satire, and you have set yourselves up for it in a massive way. So I think everyone basically smells blood in the water and is launching every attack they've got at Disney right now. So it's not looking good for the House of the Mouse. Oh, that's the other thing they're going to go after, at least in a special next year, is the fact that Mickey Mouse is about to enter the public domain, and they can't do anything about it, especially since Congress is gridlocked and can't move anything forward. So yeah, Disney is it's not, and somewhere in there they've got to come up with the money to buy the rest of Hulu.
Well, did you also happen to see the predictions for the
Oh
Marvels?
yeah, I forgot about that.
Uh,
That's looking to be terrible.
they
I,
said
I think the current prediction is maybe $60 million opening weekend.
they said worse than Quantumania.
Yeah.
Um, which I don't know. I think some of that may just be the decline just of the MCU in general. I don't even know if it has to do with the always the quality of the movies. Not saying that the qualities are good. I'm just saying it's.
Yeah.
I think it's just the less and less people that are caring about these characters.
Well, it'll be hard. Like the big problem is, let's say it crashes spectacularly. No matter what, Disney will not take the correct lesson from this because no other studio seems to.
Yeah.
So they're going to be like, oh, it's all those dirty misogynists who don't want to see a female lead or something. That'll be what they'll try to say, or it'll be uh, because the second and third characters are women of color. They'll blame it on racism, and it's like, well, but Black Panther did like $1 billion some odd, and I'm pretty sure Black Panther 2 did as well.
Well, Miss Marvel did had $1 billion as well.
So like, these other like these things, the prior box office leads me to believe that the average MCU fan is not one of those things. So it's that's going to fall on deaf ears, you know.
Yeah.
Um, because the real problem is that yes, Captain Marvel did do $1 billion. They could have put an hour and a half of someone making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in between Infinity War and Endgame, and it would have made $1 billion because they heavily implied that you needed to see that movie, even though you did not, to understand what was going to happen in Endgame. You didn't need to see it at all, and I've got the feeling that there's a lot of people that feel burned on that, who then also didn't care for the movie because it's an okay movie, but it's not on the top end of the MCU, and I don't fault Brie Larson for this. I've seen her in other movies; she can act. I think this is either writing or directing. I know there's no way she came on the set and was like, I want to just be a completely emotionless robot today. I'm sure that was a production decision and not her decision.
Yeah.
But that's the way she comes across in the movie. And I know this is one of those like double standards here for men and women, but people generally don't go to watch movies about women that are behaving that way. They just don't want to see it. That's just the way it is. It's like we don't. It's like we're all like, oh, people can look how they look, but realistically, if movies were filled full of people that were threes and fours, like we wouldn't watch most of them. You find people that are like eights and up, and magically, like in Last Action Hero, where every single woman they encounter is like a 10
Yeah.
because it's California. You know, no, it's because it's an action movie. Because that's what happens in action movies, and so that's just the way it is. And so again, I don't fault Brie Larson at all. Now she said some stupid things outside the movie, but I don't fault her for the movie at all because again, seen her, she can act. You know, in these previews for this one, she looks like she's having more fun. So there's that. And the director has said that it's a fun movie. Whereas the director also said that Kevin Feige basically controlled the whole thing and it may end up being terrible. And she's only ever directed one of the movies, so
Yeah, there was other things she said too that were like,
yeah, there's a lot that leads. There's a lot where I could see this movie being just a total train wreck. But again, I have this irrational hope that it's not. And it's not because I like Captain Marvel as a character or Brie Larson or anything. Like I did like Monica Rambeau from WandaVision.
yeah.
So and I still haven't watched Miss Marvel yet, but everyone that has watched it said it's a good show. And that girl's a young actress who's not out here saying all kinds of just trashy things, trashing half the fan base. So I want it to work for her. And of course, like Samuel L. Jackson, he's great. Although the Nick Fury show was not Nick Fury. What was it? Secret Invasion was a little wonky, but I don't blame that on Samuel L. Jackson. Um, so I hope it's good. I plan on going to watch it in the theater.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think what the hell was the last movie I wanted to go watch? It was Enter the Dragon, 50-year-old movie.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I was trying to think. No, hold on. The last one I watched, I took the boys. Now I'm trying to remember what the hell it was now.
Super Mario?
No, it was Indiana Jones.
Oh, Indiana Jones. There you go.
Yes.
So yeah, things are not looking good for the House of the Mouse. And honestly, all of this is the fault of Bob Iger. Like, like top to bottom. This is all his fault.
They need to bring back Michael Eisner.
Well, him or actually give Bob Chapek a chance because I've been watching several videos talking about that. Like, while he was supposed to be the guy running the company, Bob Iger still had an office and was like actively undermining everything Chapek was doing because Chapek was done with all this nonsense. It was like, we need to just go back to making entertaining movies. Forget the rest of this baloney. And Iger was like, oh, I don't think so. And so even though Chapek was like the guy he chose, he just undermined him at every corner. So, yeah, I don't know what you can do in that situation. And of course, as the chairman of the board, he re-upped his own contract. So that, like, even if they do fire him, like, he'll still keep an office and everything, just like he did the last time. So I'm really, really hoping that the other guy's hostile takeover works and he like legitimately cans Bob Iger like across the board and sends him to go live on some island somewhere, preferably like Treasure Island or something. But yeah, so it is it's not good for Disney, not at all. Oh yeah, that was one of the things when they were like talking to the South Park guys. One of the things they mentioned was like if the Marvels underperforms, and I'm like, well, hey, you may as well go ahead and start the lawsuit now because even if they don't release that episode, it's going to happen.
I'm just waiting for the Marvels to go straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah, well, that was the movie I talked about last time, Totally Killer.
Yep.
I was watching someone else's review of that, Chris Gore, and I guess I didn't pay enough attention at the very beginning. It's not an Amazon Prime original movie; it's a Blumhouse movie, the horror movie company.
Oh yes,
and which means that they at least had the option to release it in theaters. I think, and I think they should have. because it can't have a huge budget, and it would have definitely made money. It's an entertaining movie.
Yeah, I think I want to. I'll just double check. I want to believe the new Five Nights at Freddy's is also Blumhouse.
I think it is.
I want to just double check.
I generally assume every horror movie now is, but hell, I think the new Halloween movies are Blumhouse movies.
I like that. Yeah, well, at least it says there it's a. I don't know. I don't know. It may or may not be. If it isn't,
I
sorry.
think it is.
Let's see if it is. I got the Wikipedia on that. Yeah, Bloomhouse. Um, I know I've got at least two kids that I'll be taking that to, and Grant's not one of them. So I, I don't think it's going to be that appropriate. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad, but I mean, it is about animatronics that kill people and try to stuff them into suits. So maybe if it's anything like games.
At least one scene in one of the trailers leads me to believe that's going to happen to at least one guy. So,
Did you see the hand come out or like a
no, like the suit's like backing up to him, like opens up. There's like spinning saw blades getting ready to like go into his head, go into his face. So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. I mean, as simple of a game that Five Nights at Freddy's is, it's honestly it's got a lot of lore behind it. I mean, there's an entire channel that's pretty much built half their fan base on just talking about
Hmm.
game, the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's, and that would be game theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Reminds me of the video I watched part of one night is a 4 hour long video explaining the timeline of the Call of Duty zombies, like all the various entries and how they all fit into one overarching
yeah.
story arc.
Well, I can tell you for pretty much a matter of fact, there's at least 100 some of them plus probably 100 plus videos that he's done on just the lore because there's the movies, the books, or the games, the books, and now the movie. So,
Yeah, it seems like there wouldn't be that much there, but
uh, well, there's a whole thing about not just the animatronics, why they're killing people, it's because they've got the souls of children in them. Because
yeah, that's in the trailer for the movie.
yeah, and that's because the guy that ran Freddy Fazbear was delusional and went around murdering kids, and then hiding their bodies into animatronic suits, and then they became possessed because of the type of metal they used. It was able to absorb the souls of the children.
Cores of pure selenium.
I don't remember what it was. It had some name to it, but uh, I'm not good at like the games and stuff because again, my anxiety is all jump scares. I mean, overall, the lore itself is not anything scary to be. I mean, besides if it was happening to you, I'm sure if a giant animatronic's coming after you to kill you, would be a little terrifying.
Yeah, probably.
I went to Chuck E. Cheese and freaking the animatronic gets up and walks over to.
Well, that reminds me, like, you can buy Chuck E. Cheese pizzas now in the frozen section. But it's been so long, I don't remember if the pizzas were actually any good or not. And I don't know if the current ones are actually even like remotely like what you'd get in the restaurant.
No, like the Chuck E. Cheese pizzas were always they were just mediocre. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, oh, the pizza was just like, yeah, it's all right. You were there to play the games and
right.
do all that stuff.
And watch the creepy animatronic band.
Speaking of that, I mean, they knew those things were creepy because that's why I was thinking, because one of my movies I talked about a while back was a Goofy movie, and that's where they go to the possum park, which had all the possum animatronics. And
yeah. Terrifying. So, a little bit more on the Disney front. Their big plan to get new subscribers, like we talked about last time, is to raise the price of Disney Plus.
Yeah, so the very first thing I did was I dropped my plan down back to the regular payment, and honestly, it sucks because I know that there's a few shows. There's the Star Wars stuff. I want to keep it for that, but I've gotten rid of most of my streaming services because I realized I hadn't been watching any of them.
Yeah.
So
well, they have a similar plan for the theme parks. Due to low attendance, they're going to raise the price because that'll get more people in, is to charge more. I'm becoming more and more convinced that someone at Disney is making these decisions that like doesn't understand the first thing about economics or money or people or
about?
Basically anything.
If you need more money, you make more money by charging more.
Well, yeah.
Versus lowering the price, enticing people back into your parks.
Well, we'll actually have something of a control group to prove this now. If we could actually get the numbers, because you've seen the ads for Mint Mobile, Ryan Reynolds' phone company,
Yeah.
where he's like, well, everyone else is raising prices, we're going to lower prices, and they have. So I guess we'll see. But that's to me that's what you would do. Uh, so you have that. They're apparently considering repurposing and reopening the Galaxy Star Cruiser thing.
Well, you built it. I mean,
Don't do like the other theme parks you built. You just abandoned to the Florida swamp.
well, you mean like Discovery Island?
Yeah.
The thing is that I don't know how they ever expected that thing to succeed. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people that can spend 4 or 5 grand on a singular item, but I'm telling you, that's probably 75% of the country that's not going to be able to drop that kind of cash.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's well,
And if not, if they can,
they're not going to on that.
well, that would be the only thing they get to do all year.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, kids, you're not going to get Christmases or birthdays, so
Hope
luckily they happen on the same days.
hope you like Star Wars. We're Star Trek fans, Dad. Not now. You're not, kids. I don't hear that Vulcan logic from you.
You know, supposedly they were supposed to build I guess a like Starship Enterprise in Las Vegas.
Well, I've been to the Las Vegas Hilton where they have all the Star Trek stuff.
I bet that would be good.
It is. It's kind of cool. They've got a motion machine ride kind of deal where you get in, and like you're on board a shuttle, and like the Enterprise has been attacked by the Borg or something, and the whole deal is like they're in the present. Like someone on board the shuttle is like a distant relative to some important person on the Enterprise, and so they've got to stop the Borg from killing them, and all that general nastiness. So you go through all that. Then once you're out of that, they have a replica of Quark's bar that is a bar because it's
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Well, of course.
And
Can you play the?
I don't know if you can play the Dabo machines,
I,
but
I, you know,
and I don't remember if there were Dabo girls there or not, but it was Las Vegas, so maybe. Uh, but yeah, then they got like artwork and stuff you can buy, and this like a big timeline of like that like kind of wraps around like a thing that's about waist height that has like the timeline leading up to like the next generation Deep Space Nine, and it's pretty cool. The only problem is Las Vegas Hilton is nowhere near anything else in Las Vegas. It's not on the strip and it's not downtown. It's just like kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and the only thing by it is the convention center, which is also why all those every year after Gen Con, you get those people, oh, it needs to move out of Indianapolis for whatever reason this year. And there's like a few cities everyone points to. One of them's always Las Vegas, and everyone keeps trying to tell them, no, because the convention center is not near a damn thing, which is true, because I've been to a convention there, and like it's hotter than hell because it'll be during the summer whenever it's like 130 degrees in the shade, and that's almost not hyperbole. One year we always drive out there, and one year whenever we used to go that way for our vacations, we came in and it was like 5 in the afternoon, and it was 115 degrees. Like
yeah.
that is no joke. That is what the temperature is out there. Now, it is a dry heat.
Which I can take. I get why people move to like Phoenix and stuff like that because I like the dry heat.
Yeah. See, like, because we live here in southern Indiana, which is basically like a swamp.
Yes, if you must enjoy the swamp ass.
And so here, if you sweat, it just builds up on your skin and it's just nasty. You don't have that problem in Las Vegas. Any ounce of moisture is it's just gone. And then they've got like things on the strip where like there's just those spray jets, the mist, like at theme parks. They've got those set up just out on the sidewalk because again, it's hotter than holy hell out there. And if you do it right, you can actually move between most of the hotels without actually going outside. So there's ways to mitigate it. Now, kind of an upside, downside, depending on how you want to look at it. Uh, Typically in the desert, it gets cold at night because sand does not retain heat. Well, the city, however, is made of steel and concrete, which do retain heat. So while it cools off, it doesn't actually get cold.
Yeah.
You go right outside the city, though, it gets cold. But yeah, a little divergence about Las Vegas there. So Anyway, back to Disney. I think that's most of the bad news for Disney at the moment.
Now, is there any
As
good
if
news?
no,
No, no.
there's really not.
You know, and that's the thing is that they should be able to print freaking money with the IPs that they have.
Yeah, with like they have single handedly destroyed Star Wars, and then like they brought it like they had it with the Mandalorian. Interest was rekindled. Mandalorian season 2, things were looking good, and then Obi-Wan happened, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, no, sorry." The show's called Obi-Wan. He's only in like a third of it, so it should have been called Reva, and we don't like her because she just screams throughout most of the goddamn show. And it's like, it's nothing against the actress or anything, but number one, it's annoying as all hell. But number two, given the context, it makes no sense because her character is incredibly reckless, and the Empire is an organization where that doesn't get you very far because your superiors will just kill you.
Yeah.
So, like, her being where she was just does not logically fit with the rest
Yeah,
of
no,
the
no, because
series.
when Vader was training the Inquisitors, one of the first lessons he's taught him is, one, I can destroy all of you if you act up, and pretty much maimed every single one of them. And he's like, well, that's going to drive them to be, really towards the dark side.
Yeah.
Got it. Because the one I can't remember which number sister it was, but the really big hulking one, she's missing her hand because of Vader.
But yeah, so like you had that problem. Now, I mean, on the whole, I thought the Obi Wan series was entertaining. I thought it was fine. I found Reva annoying, but that's basically it.
I don't know. I did kind of like the Obi-Wan Leia dynamic, but it makes no sense in the context of A New Hope
Right. That is part of the problem. Is like,
because she was old enough to remember him.
yeah, I think that entire thing was built in there just because too many people pointed out why would Han and Leia name their son Ben? Neither of them had any connection to Obi Wan. There was just some guy that was on Han's ship for like a couple of hours before he got killed. Leia didn't know him. Well, now she did.
Yeah, and it would have been a little bit different if,
To really cover for the fact that they just stole his name from the EU because Luke's son was named Ben because Luke had a connection to Ben, so it made sense. But Luke
though,
got to be a hermit drinking like weird alien green milk, so
I guess there's a way I can let it slide. And the reason why is because she said she was asking for help and she said, you served with my father during the Clone Wars. And it's kind of like, hey, I want you to repay it's time to repay that, some favor or whatever.
yeah, I guess. But like if some rando guy came up to me and was like, "Hey, I was with your grandpa whenever the battleship got sank there at the Aleutian Islands. My grandpa was on a ship that got sank at the Aleutian Islands. I didn't make that part up. And like I helped him not die or something. You know, I'm gonna be like, well, thanks, but I'm not gonna name my kid after him. Like I don't know who the hell this guy is.
True.
Like you know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Even if I know for a fact he did, he's just some guy that I just met off the street that like he had far more significance to my grandpa than he did to me. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
but it's just like at the end of the day, it's because Luke had a kid named Ben, but they decided Luke wasn't going to have a kid. They had Jason and Jaina sitting there, but they don't want to name him Jason because then it's oh, it's obvious he's on the dark side because Jason was. So let's not use those names. Let's use the one that we're just going to steal from Luke because we're not going to let him have a kid
Yeah, they could have had.
because Mara Jade doesn't exist in our reality because we're terrible writers. So we could have the rest of this just turn into shitting on the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, well, I think we've got other topics to go on. One that may be even more.
All right. So anyway, like that scene in Clue where it's like to make a long story short, and everyone's like, "Yeah, too late." That's basically where we're here. Long story short, shit's not looking good for Disney.